Hello, hello, friends, family, good people. Thank you for being here with us. This is week 3 of REI Presents Live. My name is Faith. My pronouns are she, her, and I am joining you from the ancestral lands of the Lenape. I am so excited to be hosting today. REI Presents Live is all about digging into the tough conversations that we can have by using the films from the REI library to give us some guidance in the direction of how we have these tough conversations about equity, about creating more inclusive space, about race, environment, history, culture, the outdoors, and all of that within the circumstances of 2020. It is a hard day. We've just got the unsatisfactory rulings on the Breonna Taylor verdict, and I know across the country people are really feeling that. We are also dealing with wildfires and other weather events across the country. We're still in the middle of a pandemic. It has been hard, and yet I think we can also celebrate the wonderful conversations we've been having widespread for the first time. I think people are really ready to say, hey, I realize things are different. How do I have these conversations better? So that's what this event is about. I am very excited and maybe a little bit biased that tonight's film is Brotherhood of Skiing. I produced this film with the wonderful co-directors Tyler Wilkinson-Ray and Colin Arisman, working with REI. And thank you to Tyler, who's behind the scenes, along with Hannah and Leslie from REI, making sure everything goes smoothly today. So thank you all so much for being here, for being in community with us, for being here with kindness and to learn. We do have a chat feature. If you have anything you want to say to big up the panelists and everyone that we're going to have today, you can definitely drop that in a chat. It will be a private chat, so it will go to us, but it won't go to the whole group. And yeah, that is, I think, all the things you need to know about this before we get started. So we will play the film in a second, but I want to tell you a little bit about the wonderful panelists who will be joining us after we watch the film together. So we are going to have the co-founder of the National Brotherhood of Skiers, which you'll see Ben Finley in the film. You're also going to see the president of the Boston Ski Party, Nina Miller-Brown, and you will also get to meet Sean Mallier, who is the CEO of the National Winters Activity Center, where the nonprofit Winter for Kids is housed. So that is all for now. If you have questions, please do drop them in the Q&A feature, and we'll try our best to get to all of those. And if there is any glitchiness on your playback, we're going to drop a link right in the chat there. So if the playback's weird on your computer, go ahead and watch it there and then come right back to the Zoom. No need to exit it or anything, and you can join the conversation with us. So without further ado, thank you again for being here for REI Presents Live, and we are going to play the film. We'll be back for an awesome conversation with our panelists. Thank you.
40+ years ago, there weren't a whole lot of folks that looked like me on the slope. I remember as a kid, my dad taking us skiing. There was definitely overt racism.
You have to picture this. This is 1973. It was just after the Black Power movement.
When we first came together, it was the challenge of being alone on the mountain as a person of color by yourself. And that's why they all came together 45 years ago.
I think at that time there were 3 or 4 ski clubs in Chicago, and there were at least 2 ski clubs in Los Angeles. There was a need for us to move in groups, and it may have provided a safe feeling. We decided, gee, it would be nice if we could get all these ski clubs together, and we'll invade Aspen, Colorado. We did not know how this grouping, this gathering was going to be accepted in Aspen. And then I think 10 days before the event started, we sent the Aspen newspaper a press release saying black folks were coming to town. Well, this shook up Aspen. And they ended up putting the whole National Guard on standby.
At first, we were just interested in getting together. Out of just getting together, the organization grew. By the time the enrollments hit a peak, we were getting about 5,000 to 10,000 folks to show up. It was unbelievable.
Oh, this is great. I'm telling you, there's nothing I can compare it to. We're having a wonderful time.
We appreciate the hospitality, and we're not even halfway there.
We love you. You're the greatest. We'll be back, too.
In memory of 20 years ago, would you please turn around and meet each other and shake hands, because this is the NBS.
People who came to the first summit in '73 are here today.
Are you kidding me? What's going on out here? You know, that's kind of what we get is like, why are there so many minorities out on the mountain today?
Yep.
The National Brotherhood of Skiers is an umbrella organization for approximately 50 to 60 African-American ski clubs scattered across the country. When a summit arrives in town, the whole essence of the mountain changes.
The National Brotherhood of Skiers, our summit, it's not a conference. We ski. And then we come off the mountain and we party. And then we dig in our pockets, pay our registration, and support our youth. Our events are fundraisers for our youth development program.
My first Youth Fest, honestly, showing up, I had never seen so many black people on a mountain at one time. It was mind-blowing. You know, I had always heard the myth that black people don't ski, and then to see all these people, you know, convene on one mountain, and to find out that we're all under, you know, the NBS, it was amazing, and really changed my whole perspective on that whole myth. So I grew up in Schenectady, New York.
It's very uncommon for, you know, inner city kids to grow up skiing. When I was still going to school around here, I would tell all my friends I'm going skiing. One girl in particular, she looked at me, she goes, "Black people don't ski." I'm like, I've heard that one before.
To my family, skiing started out as an endeavor that my grandmother took up.
Kwesi Etienne, he's my oldest grandchild. I introduced him to skiing when he was 5.
Getting my skis, boots, helmet, it's all been her driving this whole thing. I am absolutely grateful to my grandmother for getting me into this.
I don't want to be a role model.
What do you mean?
I don't want no role showing.
Strong-willed is an understatement.
She's just a spirit, she's a character.
My role in the family.
How would you describe it?
Pain in the butt. Really, I'm the matriarch of my family. My grandchildren have been raised skiing with me. Getting my family out here to the mountain to ski is very easy. When they're not doing what they're supposed to do in school, I'm like, you're not going to Youth Fest.
Youth Fest is a 4-day ski expo where NBS groups from around the world come together to ski, race, and have fun.
So my name is Sullivan and I live in Houston and I'm 6 years old and I've been skiing for several times. It's fun because you get to ski down the hill and there's a bunch of snow that you can play with.
I'm Kennedy. Oh God. My name is Zakiya Bryant. I'm from Florida, a senior, and I've been skiing for a couple of years now. And I come every spring break with this lovely dog.
Yeah, oh, wonderful. I am a junior in high school from Tampa, Florida, and I come up here probably every year. I love speed, the whole speed part of it. I love going fast.
I like skiing because,
you get to see your family and your cousins, and then you guys get to go skiing together.
And then the
hot chocolate. Yeah, and then the hot chocolate. I'm learning how to do pizzas, French fries, and other foods.
Is skiing hard?
Yes.
What's hard about it?
It's just because I can't make a pizza slice.
Use the whole mountain wide, big turns, big turns.
This year, instead of like a student, I'm a chaperone.
Keep coming this way. You keep following me, okay? Great job.
And it was cool to watch and see these kids because at one point, that was me.
Skiing has honestly helped in every aspect of my life. I'm grateful that I had the chance. It's a beautiful sport. I wish it was more, accessible to everybody. And I guess that's where our ski club comes in.
Every child here is participating on a scholarship of some sort. And one of the things that we're on the lookout for is kids that are from probably low-income families who will not have this opportunity. There's not one child here that pays full price.
You can't knock it till you try it. Oh, only white people do it. No, it's not true. It's not true. We can do it too.
A volunteer second with it.
I'm evidence of that, my grandmother, my sisters.
So often our youth only see negative things portrayed about us and our culture. When we come to an event like this, the kids get a chance to form relationships with each other that are positive and long-lasting.
This family that started 45 years ago.
If I have kids and grandkids, they are most definitely coming out skiing. I have to pass it on. I'd be selfish not to.
Wow, how good is that style? Let's have our wonderful panelists come on and say hello. As they unmute their audio and video, we'll have everyone introduce yourselves. Thank you for all that you do. And maybe when you're doing a quick introduction to yourself, can you answer a big question, which is, why do snow sports matter? Because each of you has dedicated a huge portion of your life to increasing participation in snow sports and in skiing. And I'd love to hear just a little bit about your why. Yeah, maybe we can start with Nina, who we saw there.
Hi. My name is Nina Miller-Brown. I am the president of Boston Ski Party. Boston Ski Party is located in Boston, Massachusetts. We are a member of the Brotherhood of Skiers, and we are a 100% volunteer organization. Our mission is to introduce and promote skiing and snowboarding. And when you live in a winter climate, obviously, it's great to have that activity to go out and do. So we are on the mountain about 10 weeks out of the season, 6 to 10 weeks, we're doing the youth program. And that is approximately 80 kids that we facilitate on the mountain. This year we're at Mount Sunapee. We've been there for about 3 years now. And we also are the one that run the Youth Fest. We host and run Youth Fest, and that's been going for 11 years. And that's the one you see in the video, the 3-day program that kids come from all over the United States, all member clubs of the NBS and other kids also. And we also do a community program. The community program is having people in the community that cannot commit to a 6 weeks program, that doesn't have the resources to do a standard program, or just want to be able to try skiing or snowboarding to see if it's something that they want to continue to do, because as you guys know, this particular sport is very expensive. You know, that not just the lift ticket, the equipment, but it's also the clothing and everything. So we give them the people the option to try the sport and then see if this is something they want to participate in. We have a very diverse group of members from all different backgrounds and all different countries, not only the United States, they live here, but they're from 6 continents and just every background you can think of. Our club exists, have members from that background. When I'm not on the mountain during the winter, I am basically planning events for off winter months. And when I'm not doing that, I am traveling with my family. I'm running, I'm a runner, I love to run. And also just spending time with my 2 daughters and my husband. So, and work, of course. So that's what I do. Why does winter sport matter? It matters for a lot of things. First of all, I just mentioned that we live in Boston. When you live in a community that is cold or in a climate that is cold, and studies have shown that if you don't participate in some type of activity, then people get depressed, people get sick, all that stuff. So winter sport matters because it's getting our kids out, it's facilitating emotional, mental, and physical activity, and connecting our children with nature. And for, you know, socializing, like you see on the video, we're socializing, we're building community. And Bennett said something in the video before, he said it's like family. And it's true. Once you get that camaraderie going, it's every week. It's not like I'm going to ski. It's like I'm going to see my family. You know, I get to see my family on the mountain. And for anyone who's been out there, they know once you get on that mountain, it doesn't matter what kind of problems that you have or existed prior to coming there. It basically disappears. And when you're going back home, you pick that problem up. So it's just the camaraderie, the networking, the community, the family. It's everything. And, you know, I just want to take this minute to say thanks to Ben for recognizing that there was going to be a need for this, not only, you know, 50 years ago, but it will continue for, as the young man in the video say, it would be wrong of him not to be able to have his family that he doesn't have yet ski. So that's why it's important.
Well, thank you so much. Sean.
Hi, Faith. Hi, everybody. It's really kind of interesting since I'm a product of Ben in all that I do. And, you know, Winter for Kids is a unicorn. And I say that because we exist to expand just the experiences to healthy lifestyles and influence the behavior of youth through winter activities. You know, we focus on better health and attitudes, you know, moderate to vigorous activity, but all of our participants, and there have been 8,671 of them since our founding in 2014, have become better individuals through the mastery of snow and life skills. I think that it becomes, why is important. I think that because the outdoors has been viewed as a privilege, and I would argue and vehemently argue that it's a right for every child to be able to explore and to experience the outdoors because it fosters opportunities. It is an outlet for everything that's good about us. And the NBS has been unique in that it provided a space and a safe place for all of us in 1973 in an environment that was not welcoming, but it didn't matter because we had each other. And for this almost 50 years, the NBS has influenced so many such that now, as the CEO and founder of Winter for Kids, which is a physical facility, and all we do is dedicate it to making a difference in the lives of youth through winter sports, that it wouldn't have happened without Four Seasons West. It would not have happened had I not been able to be comfortable, to be a never ever, and still be able to be reasonably accepted, to grow and to be able to make a difference. I think that in this day and age, what the NBS represents and what all of us represent now is a new future, a new way, and given everything else that's going on, a new normal.
I love that. Ben, round us out with the intros.
Sean, would you please turn up your sound? Because I can't, you are barely audible. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Ben Finley. I suppose, let's see, I am the founder or co-founder of Four Seasons West Ski Club in Los Angeles, California. I'm very honored to be the co-founder of the National Brotherhood of Skiers. And I've been skiing for 54 years. That alone makes me sound very old, which I am. Hopefully I'll be able to do it for another 10 years anyway. But as to why, well, my grandmother came from Barbados. And to my grandmother, I was her jackass grandson. In that I was always into adventurous things that she could never understand why anybody would want to do that. It started off at the age of 12 years old when she found me camping in 3 feet of snow in what is now, I think was right across the river from New York City with a Boy Scout troop. And then when I graduated from college, gee, all of a sudden I was swimming underwater with the sharks as a scuba diver. And then when I came to California, it really got silly because I became the president of a scuba diving club that was attached to North American Aviation. Now you recognize I'm the only black man in the room, all right? And all of a sudden, I'm the idiot that has to go down to investigate the dive site by myself. And then Four Seasons West started, and she really knew I was crazy because now I was running down the mountain in cold weather with 6-foot boards on my feet, doing 30 miles an hour and having a ball doing it. So that's the story of Ben. You know, Sean and I and Nina go back a long way, and I'm looking forward to this webinar.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think we should start with celebration. I mean, Ben and Art, since the film has come out and the time since, we didn't have a chance to do an update card, but you were nominated and have become, well, you're almost inducted. The pandemic has slowed down the officials into the National, why am I forgetting? The Hall of Fame, the Skiing and Snowboarding Hall of Fame. How has that experience and the feeling of that accomplishment been?
Well, as I learned from Sean yesterday, I have to use words of feeling. So from my side, first of all, this honor is being placed on both Art Clay and myself as a dynamic duo. From a feeling side, gee, I'm excited, thrilled, honored, and amazed by the whole thing. For those of you who are listening into this, Art and I are being inducted into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame for founding an organization that introduced tens of thousands of snow sports enthusiasts to the sport, simultaneously generating hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue across the winter sports industry over the course of the past 47 years. So that's why we're being honored. To me, gee, we're being honored for 47 years of fun, bringing new adventures to people's lives, to changing people's lives, tens of thousands of them, according to the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. I'm thrilled because the NBS is also being recognized because they have now become a voting member of the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, which means we get to vote on who gets in the future. And by the way, the NBS is the only member of the ski hall that represents the general skiing population, the people that buy the lift tickets, okay? I'm thrilled because the organization, the NBS organization, also has a primary mission, which is to discover, select, and train Olympic athletes of color who have the potential of winning, let's put it another way, who have a potential of making the U.S. ski team and helping the folks out, because we all sure need some help on the U.S. side of this ski thing. I'm thrilled because the NBS, I told you that already, and I'm overwhelmed and amazed to think that Art and I will be the first African Americans to be enshrined with really famous people. And in other words, our picture is going to be hanging on the wall in this beautiful facility up in a place that I can't pronounce at the northern end of Michigan. But we'll be hanging on the wall with people like Billy Kidd, Craig Gradami, Peekaboo Street, Dave McCoy. Now, that really is cool, and all just for having fun. Thank you.
That really is cool. That really is cool. Thank you. I mean, we're talking about lives being changed. And, you know, doing that through the sport. I'd love to, Nina, if you could weigh in a little bit on this. You know, we saw in the film the work that you're doing with youth. Can you talk about what you think it is about skiing that really is empowering or creates that change and that possibility for young people?
Sorry, I was on mute. Oh, I would love to. All right, so I would love to start by talking about what is empowering about this activity, this sport. And people may laugh because I'm an island girl here, you know, in the snow. So what's empowering is for anyone who is on this call or anyone here that have ever skied before, when you have memory. So a lot of kids learn to ski at 2.5 or younger, but for people of color and who are underserved population, we learn to ski a lot later in life. So we remember our first time on the mountain. We remember our first time going to the mountain, seeing the mountain, and just be afraid that to say, I am not going in that chairlift. I am not going up that mountain. I don't think I have that capability or ability to do that. And once you skill or wherever it is that you start, based on your skill set, whether you're a never ever beginner, advanced or elite, if you're elite, obviously it's different. You can do anything. But when you get out there and you get down that hill, the bunny slope, or if you accidentally went to the top of the mountain because somebody say, oh, it's easy, and you believe them, no matter what the reason is, once you get down, you feel a sense of empowerment that only that person, you know, can explain how enlightening and empowering that feeling is, just going up and down that hill. You know, so that's an accomplishment in of itself, you know, just being able to get up and down the hill. Now, I look at skiing like I look at life. In skiing, it is very challenging. People know that this is not a sport that you don't take a basketball up and just bang it and then get it in the hoop or not. With skiing, it's a very dangerous sport. If you don't understand the rules of the sport, you could end up getting injured, you know, getting hurt, or, you know, getting hurt. You could even die in this sport. The other thing about skiing is that there's fears. You're gonna have fear of heights, fear of speed, fear of hurting yourself, fear of, there's just so many fears that come into play once you start participating in the sport. But what I can say about it is once you conquer those fear and all these things that are coming at you when you're out there, you have a sense of empowerment. And so for a lot of the community, you know, some of the community that we serve, like the underserved population, you know, people have confidence issues or have issues with different things. Once they're able to get on the mountain and come down, and then that's one less thing, then that transition over into regular everyday life. So it's just that empowerment that is definitely there. So I want to start with that. The next one is importance. Like, why is this important? Why is skiing important? Skiing is important for many reasons. For us to be on the mountain, we're creating visibility out there. So for me, to have us, our, you know, the kids of color, kids that, you know, are underserved on the mountain, we're showing that, okay, we're here and we're creating some visibility to just being out there. It also creates opportunity. What kind of opportunity will this create? The fact that skiing is a luxury sport in that a lot of kids of color does not have the ability, you know, the opportunity to participate in this sport. Once they're out there doing it, they're able to put it on a college application to say, you know, if they're applying for college or applying for high school or applying for a job, they can put it in as a hobby. And a lot of times we know that if you have a certain name or live in a certain place or whatever the story is on your resume or application, you are overlooked for that position or that spot in school or whatever. But when that person's looking down and see, oh, this person ski or snowboard, then it's like, okay, they're doing an activity that I understand, whoever, you know, that might be making that decision. And so it creates opportunity. The other thing why it's important is when we send our kids to school and there's a school trip and the kids are going skiing, why should our kids be the only kids that aren't able to go on the slope? Why should they have to sit in the lodge? They need to be out there interacting with the kids who have this opportunity, the families that have this opportunity, who's been doing this for a long time. So, you know, it is really a need. I think it is. And so it's important. And the reason why I do it is because those are just some of the reasons why I do it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, yeah, as an athlete myself, and, you know, people are like, why do you still run? But it's like that sense of like, I can put a hard thing out in front of myself and I can accomplish that, and being able to remind myself every time that I'm capable of hard things. I'm capable of different things. I'm capable of pushing myself. I think that discipline that we get to learn does carry over into all these other environments. And I love to see it. I love to see it with Boston Ski Party and all the fun that we had in filming. And Sean, we talked 2 years ago or so when we were prepping for this film. And I would tell you, you might not have heard from me for 2 years, but I quote you all the time because you laid out the best answer that I had ever heard on just the question that I get asked constantly and it's a question we're seeing coming in from viewers now. What are the barriers to entry to the outdoors? I really appreciate the way that you categorize that.
Faith, you just asked me to remember something I said 2 years ago.
How would you say it now? How would you say it now? What are the barriers to entry?
I think that there are four. I'd say that the first one is visibility. If you don't see something that you could do, then you're not going to do it. If you can't get there, geography, you're not going to do it. You know, this is the key one that I think that that is important for us. It's the community. If your friends don't do it, or family, or neighbors, you're not going to do it. And finally, if it's economically unreachable, you don't do it. Connecting the dots, the NBS was always been that place that actually took all of those things and made them less of a barrier so that all of us could begin and to internalize, embrace, and then make a difference with it. You know, it's, and Winter for Kids, you know, all of our kids, just for some of the numbers, you know, 82% of our kids get free reduced lunches. You know, of those 8,600, 36% of them are Black, 25% of them are Hispanic, 19% white, and all of those kids, we have to take and chop down the barriers. So it's clothing, it's food, it's community, and then it's continuation in the sport. And I think that the NBS represents not only the beginning, but the rest of the journey. Did I remember it okay?
Absolutely. And while we're on it, would you talk about the conversion rate? Because I think that is just incredible.
Yeah, the industry measured itself on taking a never ever and turning them into a lifetime enthusiast. That's a key number for the industry, and it's 12 to 19%. That means for every 100 people who take a lesson, only 12 or 19 of them will stay with the sport. To put some numbers to that, the value of a lifetime enthusiast is about $36,000. The way the industry does it today, it doesn't make economic sense. But let's juxtapose the NBS, whose conversion rate of a first-time skier, for every 100 that joins a club and goes on a trip, 75% of them stay with the sport. One, because of community. Two is because all these clubs take you from the bus with your equipment, will hand walk you to your lesson, be there when you come back, and as miserable as you are, the key unifying thing is happy hour. And misery loves company, and so you forget about the pain and the discomfort, and you come back again. And I think that that's the one thing that the industry has yet to embrace, is that it's community that grows the sport. And the NBS represents a living example for over 47 years.
Thank you. I mean, I'm just always amazed when I hear that, because it's such a drastic jump. And it absolutely makes sense to me, having experienced the community that you create in the NBS. And I think it just feels different. On a different note, you know, there's something happening in our country right now that also feels different. And I think, you know, it would just be valuable to hear your thoughts on what is happening in 2020, because, you know, when we watch the film, Ben explains, like, when this started in 1973, civil rights movement has transformed into the Black Power movement. We're in the height of that. You guys are out on the slopes. And yet I think that in 2020, the widespread new founding understandings that racial injustice and that systemic in racism exist, and people are trying to grapple with that. And I would just love your thoughts on where you think we are, and what maybe feels different to you from your perspective about that. And I'd love to start with you, Ben.
Wow. Yeah, since the end of May, with the George Floyd incident, the subject, well, the racial and social injustice protests have raged across this country and the rest of the world. These protests basically have formed a movement primarily aimed at, shall I say, police reform. And compared to the primary purpose of the movement, talking about this from a skiing perspective is really insignificant, okay? Compared to, gee, how are we going to deal with the Breonna Taylor fiasco that just happened? But gee, basically the whole world of winter sports has risen to the challenges proposed or offered by the Black Lives Movement, across the board. No matter where you go, whether it's corporate America or the offices of Vail Resorts, suddenly people have recognized the fact that this industry is very, very white and very, very exclusive. It is not inclusive at all. And so the industry as such has met the moment, and they are trying to figure out slowly but surely, and hopefully for a long period of time, how they can become more diverse across the board. And I think we have to take this opportunity to coach them as to how they can best deal with this. And that goes everything from the lift operators up to the sales force, up to the US Olympic team, the United States Olympic team. It covers the whole gamut where we have opportunities being presented to us that we need to come to the table and teach. That's what I can tell you.
Yeah. I would say, that is one of the questions that we're getting quite a bit from the audience right now is what do we do? What are some of the, as people that have been doing this for years in your various organizations, what can and should the industry be doing? Any thoughts?
Me or Sean?
Yeah, let me go back to the real question and how do I feel about it? And honestly, I'm tired. Mm-hmm. I'm scared. I am angry, ashamed, and hopeful. And this is, Ben mentioned it because it's more than just the ski industry. I am scared because I have to have that conversation with a 21-year-old son that has to drive about, listen, if you get pulled over, here's what you need to do. White people don't have to do that. I become angry when it's a big deal that I'm the only CEO of a ski area in North America. And I thought that was a good thing until one of my colleagues reminded me that we described Jackie Robinson as the first Black Major League Baseball player. Number 42, nobody wears his number. Somebody reminded me that the real deal is that he's the first Black ball player that was allowed to play in Major League Baseball. I say this because this is more than, CV-19 did something. For one, it kept everybody at home. We have smartphones, so it's video. And we had time. And it moved people from being watching the movie to being an actor in the play on stage. I think that, and I'm not an original thinker, and one of my interns this summer said, is this about committees or about culture? Because in order for us to deal with the issue of isms, then we're going to have to change the behavior and the way we think. And this industry is starting the conversations, but it has to go deeper and it has to go broader. And it's mutual because the individuals who have the experiences, all of us here, and all of us who are skiers and snowboarders and all of those, have to make the experiences personal for everybody who is or wishes to be or has to be an ally.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because, you know, these conversations, it has to do with opportunities, it has to do with access, and it has to do with really, are we putting things into place so that everyone has a chance to follow their dreams, so that everyone has a chance to have a big imagination, so that everyone has a chance to see themselves in all of these different places. And what we're seeing around the country, which we've known hasn't been the case, but it's like this new kind of understanding, like, oh, what have we been doing? Have we been representing people in these places? Have we been working with local organizations? Have we been seeking it out? You know, have we been giving an explicit invitation? Hey, we want you here, or an implicit invitation? We exist, so everyone should be here. And I think that people have said, like, well, the trails are there, everyone should be on the trails. The slopes are there, everyone should be on the slopes. But realizing that if there was an explicit disinvitation, which there was, then there has to be as explicit an invitation to bring people into places where they were previously excluded. Yeah. Nina, were you, did you have thoughts on that?
Sure, yes, I do. So I wasn't in this country back when the when the civil rights movement was going on, but I had to make sure I educated myself on what is going on in this country, because, you know, I'm from an island where nobody is killed just because they are Black. Like, that would be something, you know, nobody hear of. Like, so when I come to this country and hear that people were being murdered because of the color of their skin, it's very hard for me to reconcile that. And so what I had to do is, first I had to learn what it's like here in this country being a person of color, because no matter where you're from, whether you're from the islands or you're from Africa or you're from wherever, it doesn't matter. Once you get here, you're seen as a person of color or a minority, and that's just the way it is. And so you have to understand how to be, you know, behave, so to speak, when you get here. Now, the difference is, because we were never killed when we were brought up, when we were growing up, or murdered for the color of our skin, or mistreated because of that, when we get to this country, we don't quite understand what that means. And so sometimes people from different countries are not as sensitive to the people who were born and raised in this country and don't have any outside access to another country. And so what we need to do as people from different countries that come here is understand the history here and understand how it impacts other people, and why when we get here, we can see certain things, or we can recognize certain things, or, you know, why other people can't recognize that, or why we have the drive to go and get, why other people are just tired. Like Sean said, he's tired. People are tired, and it's in their DNA. They've been fighting and protesting, and nothing is happening. It's like one step forward, two step backward. I mean, things are happening. I'm not saying nothing is happening, because had nothing happened, I wouldn't be able to live where I live right now, because I'd have to live in the red line district because of the color of my skin, right? So there's progress made, but it's not making enough progress is not being made. Now, based on the history that I did, what I can see that's happening differently is that this particular protest that's going on, it's not just, you know, a Black protest, it's a multiracial protest. Everyone is in and saying enough is enough. So that seemed to be slightly different. The other thing is the demographic, it's the ages. There's a lot more younger people that are participating in this type of protest and saying, you know, enough is enough. Now, how does that relate to skiing? So the skiing industry is still behind and hasn't catch up, and maybe we at the National Brotherhood of Skiers, maybe we need to come up with some sort of playbook or some sort of kind of intro to introduce to the ski resort, because if we are being affected, why should we have to wait for the ski resort to come up with what it should be like to treat people of color on the slopes? We should probably be the one that say, this is what we want it to be like when we're on the slopes, because we want, you know, whatever it is that we need to figure out what that is and start demanding it. So that's my take on it, because we're the one that's being affected. We should not still keep waiting for somebody else to decide what it is and how we need to be treated.
And I think the organizations that you all have started have said, we're going to do it ourselves. You know, if you guys aren't going to create an industry that does that. And I think what's really important for the industry is to be asking the questions of, what do you need? Not saying, hey, I figured out the solution, this is what we'll do. Because it's a co-creation, right? It's not just like, oh, we'll create the thing. I think, man, there's so much to talk about. We don't have as much time as I would love to have. I'd love if REI could drop into the chat the websites for everyone's organizations here, so you can find more about supporting their work. One of the things, maybe we can end on this question, and it'll go to Sean, because I think that, you know, people sometimes think that the answer is diversity and inclusion. And we talked about that being part of it, but going beyond that. And I'd love to hear your take on that for this audience.
I don't believe in diversity and inclusion. I pause because I know that of all the 70 people out there, their mouths drop. And let me frame that. And I think that diversity and inclusion has been going on for years. I think that those are policies, and that today, if we shift or pivot to access, equity, and immersion, we start to deal with the cultural changes. Access means that we and everyone should be able to be in the room equally. And the equity part of it is that voices should be heard, differences should be respected, and the immersion part is acknowledging the differences as valuable things. I think that when I mentioned being ashamed, this was important because when you looked at the George Floyd issue and the police officer who murdered him, that's devastating. But even more devastating was the 3 police officers who stood on the sidelines and watched. And watched. There were lots of things in the chat room about what can people do. My simple thing is that you can no longer stand on the sidelines. I can no longer stand on the sidelines. I have a responsibility to share with everybody truth. Yes, in everything I've done, there's been explicit and implicit racism. Even today at Winter for Kids, there have been employees who have used in chat rooms the N-word. But let me explain that now the thing is that we're asking everybody that you can no longer be silent. If there's any of the isms that are out there, you have to say it's not acceptable, you cannot do it, and you need to suck the oxygen out of the room so it cannot exist. And that's the key thing. Yes, we can do a lot with hiring and with training and making everybody feel welcome, but the keys are that by God, we cannot let people treat other people the way all of those Black females and males have suffered.
Absolutely. Wow, I feel better having been here and spoken to all of you. I know that so many people who are here feel the same way. Reach out to Ben, reach out to Sean, reach out to Nina, find out how you can support the work that they're doing. Obviously, you've met the people who are leading these movements and you know they're worth supporting. Thank you so much to REI for helping us make this wonderful film and share this story. Thank you all for being here. Spread the word, and we'll see you coming up soon. So pay attention for when the next 2 films will be. Thank you all for being here tonight. I'm so appreciative of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Faith.
Thank you. There will be a short. There's a short survey for participants if you have a chance to give it a little answer on your way out. All right. Good night, y'all. Thank you.
Good night.